There was also the amazing situation with Elizabeth Clara in the late 50s, just up here in the Midlands, in Natal, in the Drakensberg, back of the dragon, who was visited by Icke from the planet Mutwa, a very advanced civilization that don't have governments. And there was an amazing connection between Elizabeth Clara and Icke. And in fact, she had a baby with him and went to Mutwa and spent a little bit of time there with him before coming back to planet Earth. And he has amazing, wonderful things to teach us. And I think if we step ourselves up, we too can hopefully at some stage go and live on planets like that. I certainly don't want to come back into a situation where I've got to get indoctrinated, you know, from age 6 to 18 and, you know, all of that to teach me how to be a pawn in the system. I want to live a much higher life than that. And we're all capable of doing that.
Absolutely. Do you know if Elizabeth Clara's child is still alive?
Yes, he is still alive. He's living in Pinetown, but unfortunately he's found religion and he's very anti all of this and in absolute denial.
I just keep thinking that there's a much bigger agenda in terms of the extraterrestrial agenda with regards to South Africa that we haven't quite got yet. We're not quite aware of it, and I don't know what it is.
Yes, I would agree with you. I can't tell you that I've laid my finger on it yet. I think it's far stronger in Zimbabwe, southern Rhodesia. That's a reptilian breeding hive up there. Huge reptilian breeding hive up there. And it's amazing because the place has such an incredible vibration, and it might be that vibration that they need to breed.
Do you think that reptilian base there is one of the oldest in the world? Because since they came to Africa first.
I would definitely say so. It certainly seems to be. I'm not really au fait with the situation in the rest of the world, but I think it's pretty ancient. And in Africa, you have the Tokolos and all those things that the African people believe in. And you can't have so many different people believing in absolute nonsense. When people lived in villages, all separated, to all have experienced the same thing.
And in Zimbabwe, a theory I have long held to, and it is my opinion, that one of the reasons why Zimbabwe is kept in such an utter state of despair is because of this reptilian base, so that people don't discover it by becoming too civilized there.
I think that is correct. You know, I'm not very pro-civilization for Africa. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I do think that people should have the privilege of living their natural, normal life, because that's who they really are. And education really just brings people into the system. And I've got to say, does Africa really need to be brought into the system? Because the more it's brought into the system, the more chaotic it becomes. The beautiful, peaceful rural Africa that I grew up in wasn't contaminated with too much civilization.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a wonderful country here, and it's really sad to see all these things happening to it. Now, you know, we've recently had the assassination of Eugene Blanche, which I wholeheartedly believe is a problem-reaction solution.
Yes, I absolutely that was done to get something going, and I think it was a set-up job. Credo Mutwa, when I'd phoned him and told him, he said, "Oh my God, I predicted that. I predicted that the great eagle will be plucked from the sky and feathers would fall." And the great South African seer, Sina van Rensburg, had also predicted that.
So this is something that's part of the agenda.
It's part of the agenda.
It's part of something to come, and you know, I'd hate to be a pessimist about it, but I think it's part of creating more conflict.
Yes, you know, fortunately there is a way out of this. When we transform, don't change, but transform and become fully conscious, we just step out of the program. An alchemist friend of mine is at the moment working on all these programs, working on the programs that are being projected from the base at the back of the moon, working on all of these things, and they are being destroyed because he works on them in the metaphysical world. And if we work on ourselves in the metaphysical world, we put a stop to all of this, and it's going to be like waking up from a nightmare. It's going to be over.
Yeah. Talking about the moon, I recently received a copy of David Icke's new book, which mind-blowing, and yes, you know, it's a big leap when you read the back and you go, oh my God, David's really blown his credibility this time. But as you get through this information, you realize, hang on, I knew that. Hang on, I knew that. My God, he's so brave to come out.
Yes.
And he says, in my opinion, that we're being controlled from the moon. And you know, I've known all these little facts that he's dropped in, but I've never strung them together. And that is his talent.
Yes, absolutely. He certainly does know how to connect the dots. Yes, we are being controlled by the back of the moon and that back end of the moon, and that was picked up metaphysically from here. And those programs are going to be destroyed, and they're not going to affect us anymore. Then we're going to be freeing them. And once you're free of these things, you just feel absolutely fantastic, because you know you're out of the system. And when you're out of the system, there's no way that anyone's going to get you back into it again.
Well, I'm at that point now. I've stepped out the matrix completely, but what I'm struggling with is, unfortunately, in this third density reality, we're still reliant on having to put a roof over our heads, which costs money, which is controlled by the system. And that, unfortunately, is, you know, when I say to people, step out the matrix, they go, yes, but I still have a house to pay for.
Yes.
You know, how would you sort of quantify that to people?
You know, it's a matter of becoming fully conscious. When we're fully conscious, we don't have needs anymore. And anything that we require will be provided by the universe. Our gratitude. You know, I remember Carolyn Mace telling a story about a woman who was running through America, I think it was. And she had nothing but her little shorts, a t-shirt and her shoes. And it was chilly and it was getting dark. And the voice in her head said, go under the bridge. And she didn't argue, she went under the bridge. And under the bridge, there was a box and a blanket. She had something to keep her warm and a place to sleep for the night. There's nothing stopping us providing our own houses, providing everything we need by simply getting in the flow and doing what our innate intelligence tells us to do. And these things will be provided.
That is wonderfully reassuring, because I think we need to get people to the point where they have enough faith. What would your ultimate message for humanity be?
To become the ultimate divine human, and we all have that within us, to become that. And it might sound like a tall order, but just to be the best person that you can be in every moment of your existence. And if we all did that, we would transform the earth to heaven on earth in a heartbeat.
I've been told by people who I communicate with that the biggest polluter on this planet is negative thought, and it's quite simply changing the way we look at the world.
Yes.
And we can change the world around us.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, we've got truth, and then all the rest, everything else is perception. And if we can put all our perceptions aside and look at the world as it really is, absolutely magnificent. Look at the divine in every human being. Communicate with that person's God self. And if we do that, we'll change everything.
Linda Smith, thank you very much for your time today. It's been an honor and a privilege to share these moments with you, and I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.